They don't want what we know out there.
How a person can go from really almost nothing to becoming a millionaire by owning rental properties.
He would always buy these flip houses, and I just remember thinking, this guy is crazy. Why would he buy that house?
In the past decade, there's been a huge surge in the peer-to-peer short-term rental market.
Become an insider. So you have to know the rules before you get the game.
Every second counts. So make every second count.
Welcome to the Real Estate Jam. Whether you're just beginning or the best of the best, we're glad you're here. We will share successes, failures, and strategies for the action-taking real estate investor. And now to your hosts, JD and Melissa.
Hey guys, welcome to the Real Estate Jam podcast. I'm JD with my wonderful co-host, Melissa.
Hi, JD. How are you?
I'm doing great. We got a pretty busy day. We got an office full of team members. So if we have any background noise, that's where it comes from. I think that we got an important show today. I think we're going to show some people how to save money, bump up the NOI, which then increases value on the multifamily property. So I'm really excited to get into that. We have Kevin Gardner. He is the president of Multifamily Utility Solutions, and he's going to drop a bunch of information for us today. Hopefully we can take action on.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thanks, Melissa. Thank you, JD. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you today.
Yeah, this will kind of be kind of different kind of show, more service oriented, like you said. So
yeah, excited to see what we can dive into. But for our listeners who may have never even heard of you or kind of your company, can you give us a rundown what your background is and how you got to where you're at so that they know why they should be listening to you?
I will. It might take the whole 20 minutes we have, but I'll try and speed through it. But yeah, I was in college and my college girlfriend got pregnant and I needed a job. And so I had two choices. I could either sell cable TV door to door, or I could sell replacement windows door to door. And, cable TV at that point sounded a whole lot sexier than replacement windows, right? Plus, they offered to give me free cable TV at that point. So I'm like, yeah, let's do it.
It's a win-win.
Yeah. So I got into the telecommunications business and I started working for Comcast, who's now, one of the largest telecommunications companies in the US. And I was with them as they grew and I moved around and got exposed to more parts of the business. And one of the areas at one point that I oversaw was the negotiations with apartment owners to make sure that Comcast had the right to be on their property to provide service to their residents. And so, Comcast got big, which was great. Kudos to them. I mean, they're an awesome company, but it just got kind of too big. And I don't know, I just like this entrepreneurial thing, right? I was with them as they were growing up and, you could, take some chances and things like that. And so I started my own company. And initially, Comcast and Charter Spectrum were our two of our clients, and we represented them as a third party with apartment owners. I guess we did a great job because we worked ourselves out of the job because they're like, okay, we've got enough properties under contract, and we're sitting there at the table. We're like, well, slide the chair to the other side, and let's work with property owners. And quite frankly, it's very rewarding because especially. A lot of the people, they just don't understand the value that they're sitting on. It's kind of, we call it a little known secret or an often overlooked revenue stream.
Sure.
So it's exciting because we do a lot of educating and people are like, I did not even know that. So yeah, so that's kind of how we got to here.
So what you did was you learned it from the inside, bringing it up, learned it from the inside from the enemy's point of view or the negotiation opponent, and then you flip sides and now you're helping property owners get the better end of that deal.
Exactly. Yep.
Awesome.
But we never call them the enemies. We've just, they're the guys on the other side of the table, right?
Sure. Your telecommunications.
Trying to make my job harder, JD.
No. I want our listeners to understand what side of the table you're on now, and why don't we talk about what it is that you guys are able to do for the property owners and how it affects them.
So, yeah, I mean, we can pretty much help anybody with utilities, right? We've got partner companies and colleagues that specialize in certain things. Like I got one guy who just specializes in trash removal. That's his wheelhouse. That's what he does. I've got another guy who's an electric and gas broker. The challenge with those things is you need a decent amount of size, quantity to make it really work. And also electric and gas is only deregulated in certain states. I think there's 14 of them now. So it's more of a limited opportunity. What we specialize in is the cable and internet rights for the property. And most common, when I say that, people say, well, we don't pay for the cable for our residents. And that's okay, because what they don't realize is, so, let's say you're in, we were talking about Tallahassee, Florida earlier, right? So let's say you're in Tallahassee, Florida, and Comcast has been granted by the city of Tallahassee what's called a non-exclusive franchise to operate. That gives them the right to be in the public easements, but that's all it gives them. Mm-hmm. And let's say, Melissa, you own a home there and you want to get Comcast service. And so what you do is when you're signing that work order that says, yes, I'm going to get your service, you're giving them permission to be on your personal property.
Sure.
So JD, let's say you own an apartment property and I rent from you in Tallahassee. If I'm the customer, I can't go to Comcast and give them permission to be on your property.
Sure.
I'm renting from you. So Comcast has to take an extra step in the multifamily world and negotiate an agreement with you that gives them permission to be on your property to give me service. So you're like the gatekeeper there. And there's value in being the gatekeeper, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we help property owners realize that value. A lot of them just don't understand that there is true value there. And it's not giving them the exclusive right to provide service. You're just allowing them to be there. So what I tell people is this is totally transparent to your residents. I mean, residents aren't charged more. They don't have fewer options or anything like that. So it's really a win-win.
Sure. What's the unit count that makes it worth it to explore these options? Are we talking you can do this with a fourplex and it's beneficial? Or we're talking 20, 30, 60, 120 units? Where does it make sense to start paying attention to this strategy?
Well, it varies by market, right? So Comcast may have different standards than Charter, Spectrum, than Cox Communications, than AT&T. So it really depends on the market. I will tell you that less than 20 is really a non-starter. You get to 20, it's worth at least having a conversation.
Okay.
100 is a sweet spot. Usually 50 is enough. But that's why we offer a free assessment, because we don't want you saying, oh, I've only got 20. Well, maybe you've got 20, but maybe I've got an owner and I'm working on a deal in that market where you are. Sure. And maybe I could piggyback on his deal and get your 20 mixed in there with you. So, right. Because that's the other thing we try and do is we create leverage, right? So maybe you've only got 20, but, and this happened one time. We had somebody had 74 units in Dallas, Texas. We got a proposal for them and it was, quite frankly, it was marginal at best, right? And they're like, well, we're just going to pass. It's not worth it, right? We went out and we got 4 other owners that represented another 1,500 units.
Wow.
And so we went back to the table and said, we're now representing 1,600 units. What will you do for us? And we got the person the owner of the 74 who rejected the first offer, we got them more than twice as much in the second offer because we had created leverage for them. And that's where we have an advantage, is we have the ability to create leverage through partnerships with other owners that you may not even know.
Sure. So when you're talking about you got them twice as much, what you're saying is the cable company is now paying the apartment complex owner for rights to service their renters. Is that right?
Yeah, so there's a couple of different types of compensation that you can get. One is what's called a door fee or a signing bonus. And what that is just if you sign a 10-year deal for them to be on the property, you're going to help them market their services a little bit. Then what that means is they're going to give you a lump sum paid within 90 days of signing the contract.
Okay.
So it's a one-time upfront, yes, just for the rights to be there, this is what we're going to give you. There's the other kind of compensation is what's called revenue share, which is exactly what it sounds like. They're going to share their revenue with you, but they create this model where it's a sliding scale. So the more you help them grow their business, the higher the percentage of revenue you'll get.
Sure.
And so there, in that situation, you want when somebody new moves in saying, hey, Comcast is our preferred provider. We recommend. You're not saying you can't get these other guys if they're around. You're not eliminating choice, but you are encouraging them to do that. And so that's another revenue stream. And that's a quarterly one. That one gets paid out quarterly based on how much revenue they are able to generate. So those are the two that go with where you're just giving them access to be on the property. Now there's a whole nother side of this, which is, and the cable companies love this, because they love it. If let's say you wanted to provide cable or internet or both as a amenity, right? So move in here, cable's included, cable and internet's included. You can buy in bulk for all your residents at a reduced rate.
Sure.
And then maybe you buy it for $50 and then maybe you increase your rent by $75. Because the consumer would probably have to pay $100 to get it anyhow.
Right.
So they're saving, you're providing an amenity and making your apartment more attractive for those that would want that service. And the cable company wins too, because then they're sending out one bill. They're not, trying to collect from as many people. They're, so it really works for everybody. But the challenge is you pay for 100% of your units every single month, regardless of whether or not they're occupied, regardless of whether or not the resident wants it or uses it. So for some places, it's an awesome plan because then you're making $25 on the margin there.
Right.
Other places, it's a liability. It's a risk. I mean, do you really want to have let's say you're paying $50 and you've got 100 units. Do you really want to have a $5,000 liability that's on your books that you can't get out of for a period of 5 years? Especially
if you're only half occupied or something crazy.
Exactly. You're coming in and you're going to be renovating and things like that. It's a little bit different, and that's why we don't come out with any standard belief on what's best for you, because every property is a little different. Every market's a little bit different. Everybody's goals are a little bit different. Are you going to buy this and create generational wealth? Or are you buying a C-class property, trying to raise it to a B, get out of there, make your profit, take it, and then keep building up and making. So your goals are so important that, people are saying, well, what can I get out of this? I don't know. What do you want to get out of this, right? We can help you get to your goals. We don't have goals. Our goal is to help you get your goals.
Sure. And then how is your company compensated? Are you compensated by a fee, or does it depend on what the agreement between the utility company and the property owner come to, and you guys earn your fee that way?
Yeah, we work for you. We're your advocate as the apartment owner. We get nothing from the cable company or anything like that.
Sure.
We get paid a commission. We get a percentage of what you get. Okay. So there's no hourly, there's no retainer. We do free assessments, all that kind of stuff, because that way our goals are aligned, right? If we're getting a percentage of what you get, we've got every incentive in the world to get you as much as we possibly can, because our fee is higher if we get you more. So yeah, we're your advocate. We're your partner in this, and we're going to go to battle for you and get you as much as we possibly can.
Sure, and I think it's important, especially when you're looking at this as another stream of income for your property, that increases the value of your property, or can, depending on the situation, can increase the value of your property by doing that, and at least bringing in more revenue is generally always a good thing. But then to recognize that you can do that with the trash service, you can do it with the gas, electric, and the cable and internet, I think there's a lot of opportunity. And I think a lot of the beginning investors have probably never even heard of these kind of ways to increase your income.
Yeah. And I mean, last year alone, our clients increased their net NOI, net operating income, by $4 million. Now, just taking a conservative cap rate, I mean, the asset value increase is probably $100 million or so, right?
Sure.
I mean, so it's just taking care of those dollars. One of the best lessons I ever learned was when I worked for Comcast, and the CFO, we were traveling together to go to one of our locations. And he looked at, I forget how it came up, but he said, look, $1 million is just $1 million $1 bills. So take care of the ones, and, because you're not gonna find $1 million bill. You're going to find a million ones. And, that's where it taught me, it ingrained in me, is to take care of those little details that when you combine them can start to have a significant effect on the bottom line.
Yeah, sure. Now, can you tell me what that process looks like? So, I get my apartment complex, we're up, we're stabilized, all the renovations are done, and now I want to start looking at this. I reach out to you, and then what does that process look like? How are you guys analyzing it, deciding what is available and that kind of stuff? Can you walk me through that?
I can, but I'm going to have to start over and tell you that I want you to, before you're done renovating and acquiring, even acquiring the property, it's better to get us involved too early than too late.
Okay.
So even if you're looking at some properties, sometimes we can find out or help you, because you're going to be buying this property, right? Well, how much can I plug in for potential cable and things like that?
Sure.
Even before the contract gets done, we're your advocate. We're working with you. We're going to help you do whatever. I get calls all the time. Hey, we're looking at this property. It's in this market. What can you tell me? And we'll sit there and we'll tell them. So the sooner the better. We try and make this as turnkey as possible, because we know you've got 100 other things going on.
Sure.
So initially, all we want is the property name, primary address, and number of units. We'll take it from there. Sometimes when we're negotiating with the cable or phone company, they want what's called an LOA, a letter of authorization.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a template already set up. We send it to you in DocuSign, boom, done, gone, and we're off and running. Okay. We may need address lists, but they want them in a special format. You don't have time to put them in that special format. You send me a rent roll, we convert it to the format they need, because your time is working on other things. So we're going to do all that homework and try and do everything we can. And then we're going to come back to you and we're going to say, here's what it looks like. Here's what we think. We've even come back to owners and said, hey, there's already a contract on this place. You may not even realize it. But sometimes the prior owner has a contract already.
Sure.
In which case there's nothing we can do. We can advise you, and we can make sure if you haven't closed yet, we'd be like, hey, you better go back and your due diligence, because this is what we're hearing.
Mm-hmm.
We can't get a copy of it or anything until you actually own it or anything like that. But,
sure.
Yeah. So include us early. We try and make it as turnkey as possible. Just because you've got so many other things going on when you're buying a property.
Sure.
You don't need to be filling out Excel spreadsheets on addresses.
Right. Yeah. And then I guess the due diligence phase, that can be an important piece to that. Obviously every deal is different. And I'm sure if you got 100 units versus 500 units, I'm sure it's different. How do you have general numbers you can talk to us about so that we can tell, is the juice worth the squeeze, right? Are we talking like, here's $25 a month, or here's for a 10-year commitment, a lump sum of, $450? We're talking $6,000, $10,000, $100,000. What do those numbers actually look like?
Yeah, it's usually a per door number. Mm-hmm. So the door fee or signing bonus is usually a per door number, and it can range anywhere from 50 to a couple hundred, depending on the size of the property, the competitiveness of the market, things like that. I mean, if you've got, a 1,000, unit, just because that's easy math for me, I'm sure we can get you, $200,000. One time, if you've got 20, we may be able to get you, somewhere between 500 and 1,000. But then there's the ongoing revenues as well. And we look at averages. I was just looking at a report earlier, because we have a database and we run all these reports, and we make sure we use Salesforce. And we just have every single client in there, every single property they have. And so we were just looking at a report on revenue share. And I'll tell you that the average, this is an average, there's a big range, but the average is $2 per unit per month.
Okay.
So extra $24 a year, $25 a year per, so if you've only got 20, I mean, it's not huge, but, if you've got, 100 units, that's $2,500.
Sure. Absolutely. I like it. So if we got some people that are interested in learning more about your guys' services and maybe connecting with you for that, where do you think we could send them, or do you have a place you want them to go to start researching this more? What do you got for them?
Yeah, I mean, the easiest place is probably to go to our website. I mean, we're on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn. We also have a YouTube, and we also have Facebook. But just start with multifamilyutilitysolutions.com. And to email me, it's just Kevin at. We've got a fair number of employees, but we're not at the point yet where we have to use our last names and all that kind of stuff. So just Kevin at multifamilyutilitysolutions.com. My phone number's on the website. If you have questions, just ask, right? Just ask. I mean, most of what we do is educate people, because a lot of people, especially new investors, are not aware that this is an opportunity. I went to a conference 4 years ago, walked in, this guy's like, what do you do? And I explained all this to him. And at that point, he's like, well, I only got like 12 units. I got like 6 duplexes, right? And the next year I saw him at the same conference. He's like, hey, I'm just getting ready to call you. I'm about ready to close on a 65-unit property. Like, awesome, let's do it. And now 2 years later, after that, 3 years later, so this is like a 4-year thing, guys got over 800 units. So it was well worth my time to take the 20 to 30 minutes to sit down and explain to him what we do and what to look for. And now he's calling me every time he's buying something new.
Sure. I think that's important. Just because it's not a piece of information that's relevant and active in your business right now doesn't mean it's not something that's going to help you in the future. And that works on the investor side and on your side. If these are investors who are trying to get into the multifamily space, maybe a lot of the newer investors we talk to are really interested in syndications and running some of these bigger deals. These are definitely important pieces of information that if you have the knowledge, you can apply it and bring more value to these projects that you're working on. I think it's a benefit both for you guys, this is your bread and butter, but also for our investors that are looking to get into that space. I think those are little nuggets, and you say $2 a door, right? But all of that adds up. It adds to your NOI, which then bumps your property value. By whatever the cap rate is, right? So it's huge value increases from just, like you said, every dollar.
Yeah.
I think
That was cool.
Yeah,
I had
think
no
that's great.
idea.
No, I didn't know that you could do that either.
Yeah.
I guess it's because we're not super into the multifamily space, but that's definitely something that we'll be able to pass on to our investors, and hopefully some of our listeners can start using these techniques and tactics to build value or create value.
Yeah, and that's consistent with what we, a lot of people just aren't aware. It's just not something that they think of. Am I paying for cable? No. Okay, I don't have to worry about it. Well, there's an opportunity there. So yeah, it's fun. I mean, it's fun contributing to their success.
Awesome. And it really helps that you guys are kind of turnkey service, so I don't have to worry about doing that kind of stuff. And that makes me more likely to use it. Well, awesome, Kevin. We really appreciate you coming on the show today. And we'll let you know when the podcast is going to drop. So thank you.
All right, JD and Melissa, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Thank you for listening to the Real Estate Jam. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. For more information, check out our website, therealestatejam.com, or find us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at The Real Estate Jam. If you have any questions, feel free to drop us an email at therealestatejam@gmail.com. See you next episode.